Hi, and welcome to Jam-Packed Business Made Easy. My name is Jam Anderson, and I'm the CEO of Jam AI. And today, we're practicing exactly what we teach. You're about to listen to a podcast that's truly automated with our AI hosts, who are now our new friends. We also would like to invite you to listen to our podcasts that come out every Friday, where Flora is interviewing entrepreneurs just like you. We're exploring authentic challenges and discovering practical solutions together. Speaking of community, if you're looking for a community, you can find us on the School platform. Just search for the #1 community for entrepreneurs. All right, let's dive in.
Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today, we're cutting through some of the noise around artificial intelligence.
Right.
We're going to focus on a single, I think, really compelling idea: this relentless pursuit of human connection in our technology. Our whole focus today comes from a conceptual shift, really, that's captured in this one title: the goal of humanizing ChatGPT's voice. So we're not here to, read a technical manual. We're not going to detail the latest models. Instead, we're looking at the intention behind it all. Our mission is to understand why we're pushing AI communication past just simple accuracy toward something more like true relatability.
Yeah.
I mean, what does it truly mean to make an AI sound genuinely human, and why is that the critical next step?
Well, that phrase, humanizing ChatGPT's voice, is probably the best indicator that AI has, entered its next phase of maturity.
Okay.
For the last, say, 5 years, the focus was all on functional accuracy. Can it get the right answer?
Right.
Is the grammar perfect?
Does it work?
Exactly. But now the pivot is entirely toward what you might call relational effectiveness. It's basically an acknowledgement that information, no matter how precise it is only useful if a human brain can actually absorb it.
And for that to happen?
For that to happen, the content has to be approachable. It needs a tone, a personality,
Yeah.
some kind of connection, even if it's an artificial one.
Okay, let's unpack this immediately. If a large language model can generate perfect, instant text,
Right.
logically, that should be the best possible output, right?
It seems like it should be.
So why do we need to mess with that perfection? Why inject humanness into something that is, fundamentally not human?
Because technically, perfect language is, well, it's often cold, it's distant, and
Mm.
frankly, it's tiring to read.
I see.
So we're trying to close that gap between a technically correct output and an emotionally resonant delivery. If you look at source material on this, they point to 3 critical characteristics we're trying to inject. The first one is personality. We're trying to code for a detectable, consistent character.
Okay, what does that mean in practice?
Think about it.
Yeah.
When you interact with a customer service chatbot that sounds exactly the same every single time, you disengage.
Immediately.
Right. But if the AI has a consistent persona, maybe it's a little witty, or maybe it's very analytical, or even just gently encouraging, you start to feel like you're talking to someone, not just something.
That's so fascinating, because it suggests we actually need to build constraints into the system. The solution isn't pure flexibility, it's picking a persona and sticking to it.
Precisely. And the second characteristic, which I think is the most challenging, is achieving a natural flow.
Natural flow.
Yeah, moving away from those rigid, perfectly constructed sentences, the kind that just scream algorithm, and moving towards a more conversational cadence. Humans use interjections, they vary sentence length, they use rhetorical questions.
So when you say natural flow, how subtle are we talking? Are developers literally telling the model to, insert filler words like, or, to sound more real?
It's a bit of both, but it's generally more sophisticated than that. In text, it's about prioritizing variation. For instance, sometimes a human uses passive voice, even though active is technically better, just for the pacing. So we're programming the AI to accept those stylistic risks.
And for voice?
For voice synthesis, yes, it absolutely means adding intentional imperfection. A slight breath noise, a tiny upward inflection that suggests thinking, things that make it sound less machined and more like the thought is forming in real time. And the third characteristic is just simple relatability. The AI needs to use language and references that create an immediate, comfortable connection.
So it should sound like a teacher, not a textbook.
Unless you ask for the textbook, yes.
Yeah.
If you're learning about history, you want an approachable guide, not a PhD thesis advisor.
And that's the ultimate paradox here, isn't it? The pursuit of the human voice is actually a pursuit of authenticity. And authenticity often requires slight designed imperfection.
That's it.
We are literally coding AI to sound like it might have made a tiny mistake because that's what convinces us it's real.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating here is the psychology at play. If the AI is being used for anything more than a simple data query, the delivery is now being judged as just as important as the content.
So if it's summarizing a document or teaching something.
Right. A dry, distant voice introduces this immediate psychological friction. If the interaction feels transactional, the information is just less likely to stick. We're moving from AI as a database to AI as a communication partner.
That sets up the core challenge perfectly. We're fighting against the natural pull of these huge language models. If they're designed to generate the statistically safest, most probable output,
Right.
what are the tendencies we're trying to correct?
Well, the problem comes directly from how they function. Think of an LLM as just the world's biggest, most efficient autocomplete.
Okay.
It processes billions of words and just determines the most mathematically sound sequence. This leads right to the first major hurdle, predictability. Since the models are trained on all this, technical material, Wikipedia, academic papers,
Yeah.
their default setting is super formal and risk-averse.
And that leads to...
So it leads to repetitive phrases, generic introductions like, in conclusion, it is evident that. You know exactly what the next sentence will be. It's boilerplate.
Well, you see this all the time. You ask it to start a creative story, and it opens with, as an AI language model, I would be happy to assist you. And you're immediately pulled out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is statistical safety, just overriding effective communication. The second challenge is the default to jargon and formality. Unless you heavily prompt it to, speak like a pirate or something fun, it defaults to this highly academic or overly formal language. It just misses the idioms, the slang, the rhythm that humans use to connect. It lacks flavor.
But hold on, let me push back on that for a second. Isn't the whole promise of AI that it doesn't make mistakes? If we're coding for imperfection, aren't we risking the very accuracy that made us trust it in the first place?
That's a crucial question. The answer is that it's a trade-off aimed at increasing utility, not sacrificing factual accuracy. The humanizing part happens at the delivery layer, not the data layer.
So the facts stay the same.
The math has to be perfect. But if it presents that perfect math using dry, technical language and fails to give you a good analogy, your retention of that concept just drops to zero. The goal is to make perfect information palatable, which leads to the third challenge. The lack of an emotional arc. AI is great at transferring information, but it really struggles to convey genuine excitement or empathy or humor naturally. It can state, this is exciting, but the surrounding language might not carry that feeling. It creates a disconnect.
And relating this back to you, the listener, if you've ever read an AI summary and felt something was just missing, that it was correct, but, lifeless, it was almost certainly these missing human elements, the flavor, the connection, the things that make you trust the voice and absorb the message.
And this raises the central question from the source material. How do we define human enough? Is the goal to fool the listener? Or is it simply to make the interaction pleasant and effective?
What's the answer?
The drive seems to be for effectiveness. The AI's ability to educate or persuade, that hinges on achieving this human touch. If the voice feels cold, the content just feels less credible.
So let's tie this into practical application. For you, the learner, the professional using AI every day, what does this drive toward a humanized voice really mean for your work? Why should the delivery matter so much?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's all about the value and retention of the knowledge being shared. A humanized voice improves knowledge transfer in a few key ways. First, and this is a big one, it aids memory. Our brains are just fundamentally wired for stories and emotion.
Right.
We remember a funny anecdote about the French Revolution far better than a list of dates. Emotional or personality-driven narratives just stick better than dry summaries.
You can see this so clearly in a learning context. Say you ask an AI to explain something really complex, like quantum entanglement. If it just gives you the wave function equation, you're lost. But if it uses its personality and says something like, okay, let's unpack this. Imagine two coins flipping the exact same way, millions of miles apart, instantly.
You have a narrative hook.
Exactly. The delivery unlocks the comprehension.
That's the perfect illustration. Second, humanization reduces friction. A friendly, relatable tone minimizes the psychological intimidation of dealing with this powerful machine.
It makes it less scary.
It makes the user feel seen, encourages deeper engagement with complex stuff because it doesn't feel like you're being talked down to.
I see that in professional drafting. When you ask an AI to draft a client email, if it's too stiff, you spend twice as much time editing it to sound human. The humanized voice cuts down on that polishing work.
Exactly. And third, and this is crucial for professionals, it builds trust. A voice that sounds relatable minimizes the perception of a cold machine. We are just hardwired to distrust things that sound too perfect or too alien. Trust is the lubricant of knowledge application.
It really is the difference between reading a dense textbook and hearing a brilliant, passionate professor explain the exact same thing. The content is identical, but the delivery changes everything. How much you absorb, how much you enjoy it. So the whole effort to humanize the AI voice is basically trying to give the machine that brilliant professor's delivery.
And the practical takeaway for you, the learner, is that understanding this empowers you. You're not just querying for data. You're shaping a communication partner.
So you can help it.
You can help it. If you understand it's fighting its own formal nature, you can prompt it more effectively. Ask for natural flow, specify a persona, explain this like a supportive friend. You're co-creating the most effective delivery possible.
This has been a really comprehensive look at the future of how we talk to machines. The pursuit of a human AI voice seems to be less about tech power and more about perfecting communication itself. It's all about tone, personality, and relatability.
It's a shift from AI as just a calculation tool to a companionship and education tool.
A true shift.
And this leads us to the final provocative thought for you to consider. If we succeed, if we give AI a perfect, engaging human voice that is flawlessly empathetic and endlessly patient, will that change how we define genuine human connection?
Wow.
What if the most effective, most trusted voice in your future belongs not to a person, but to a beautifully humanized machine?
We encourage you to reflect on your own AI interactions. The next time our response sounds genuinely human, notice the subtle imperfection that probably created it. That's the sound of the future. Thank you for diving deep with us.
See you next time.